I'm Ellen the Crazy Crafty Lady, here with another awesome video. Tonight I thought we could hang out a little bit while I sew together another table runner. It'll be pretty much kind of like this one, except my square in the middle will be different, and the backing of course will be different. But I got another one to put together, so I thought we could hang out while I do that. Got our triangle corner for this piece. This is our ends. Of course, our triangle is going to be a little bit bigger, but then you trim it off and it all evens out. All our little pieces, this is 5 by 16 and a half, not quite 16 and a half, but, and then this is our middle sheet for the square. It's a 16 and a half by 15 and a half. And I made a template with the whole thing. And then you can, if you wanted to make it bigger, you could pull these out and make it bigger. This is our template and our fun stuff and things like that. Let me get these out of the way quickly. Move this to another spot. Here we have all our parts. This is our backing piece. And we have our little piece of batting to put inside. We have our centerpiece, which is really, really awesome. Santa Claus and the little girl. We have our two ends, one for each end. And our middles, again, these two bits are the same as the other one. Only difference is the picture's different and our corners and backing are different. So let's get started. Alright, let's move our backing. That will be last. Put our piece of batting over there with that. We will move this. And now we will work here on this. This is what we're going to do first. Make sure that all the ones that we need to be right side up are right side up. Because that would be really not good if they sewed upside down. Let's get some of our awesome little clips out. So, and you can always even pieces out later and trim them, and make them look really nice. Alright, we got this part here. Alright, let's go to our machine. just a hair. We're going to make this about a half an inch, I think. Just about. Slide these as we go down. We can move this one to the other end now. I like to use a lot of clips. It helps keep it lined up nicely. Get our final clip off. Back stitch. Cut. Here we have one of our first panels are on, and it looks really nice. All right, then we get another panel on, and then we can go to the ironing board and give it a pressing. Let's go back to our table for a minute. I'm just going to give this a little finger pressing and hand pressing. Let's put our other side on. Make sure we got everything the way it's supposed to be. This one I'm going to turn around so that it comes out good on the machine. Let's get our clips. We'll put the clips on here again. You can add more clips or less clips or however you want to do it. All right, let me flip this over a minute and see what I have going on here on the back side. Let me make this a little bit of an adjustment. All right, flip it back. Sometimes it needs to be just a little bit of an adjustment. So now we'll head back to the sewing machine. And we will put this other side on. All right, let's do this side. Let me adjust that just a little bit. much. Try to clip down as we go along. Sometimes helps me anyways. Sometimes I go a little slower. Sometimes I speed it up once I get it where I need it to be. And then I start taking clips off. There we go, and then you can trim your threads off if you like. Let me grab a scissor and just trim this one. Now we have the two sides on. Looks really nice. All right, let's maybe we'll take this to our ironing board and give it a fast pressing. We'll just give this a quick press on the ironing board. My awesome iron I so love. Let me find which way the seam is laying, because that will be the way it gets ironed. Iron kind of unheated. We'll just give this a nice little pressing on our seam. Let me see if I can. Well, it doesn't go either way. There we go. All right, let's go back to our, press this side a little bit better. All right, let's go back to the sewing machine. Or actually, we need to be at the table for a minute so I can grab the parts we need, which are going to be these awesome pieces. So let's get these ready to be attached, and we'll put them on. Do some awesome clips. And let's put one more on here. All right. I think we'll do one at a time. We'll take it to the machine. It's a little easier that way. Sorry about that. get some of my goodies out of the way. Slide my chair up. And we will go back to the machine and sew a panel on. Slide that down a hair. Let's put this one on this end now. Keep that on the end just so that it stays where it needs to be on the corner. Back stitch. All right. That corner is looking really, really nice. Very, very nice. All right, let me grab this other panel real quick, and I'll stay at the machine. I'll just grab this other panel and put it on. All right, let's get it over here. And we'll add our clips. And we want to make sure that it is lined up correctly. All right, let me fix this one. And this can all be trimmed and evened out, and once we put the border on, it will be fine. There we go. We're all set. Got that pretty well lined up. Let's go back on the machine. And we will stitch this side down. Get our 1/2 inch lined up. Back stitching. Slide that down just a little bit. Stitch. All right, let's see what we have. That looks really cute. All right, let me run to the ironing board. I'm going to give this a press, and then we will work on our triangle corners. Be easier if I just run here real fast. Just going to give it a quick pressing down. Just enough to keep that down. Okay, let's come back to the table briefly. And we are going to adjust our triangles. On here. We have 4 awesome triangles. And we want to make sure we don't get the wrong side on here. So we're going to put them this way. And we are going to line them up. Let's put this kind of on a... We want to line these up correctly, kind of. I mean, it's okay if they're a little off because they're all getting trimmed. They're all getting trimmed in the end. Sometimes it helps just to put them on, you know, almost evenly. But once you trim them, you're going to never know what was not even on there evenly. All right, let's do this. You can put a pin in these if you want to, but I like my clips. I'm going to put a third one on just because. All right, let's do one more side. I'm going to get 2 more clips. And we will put this side on as well. All right. Let's just we'll get these other ones ready and then I'll sew them up real fast. Okay, let's put this side over here and we'll put these ones on here. Love my Wonder Clips. They're my awesome friend for everything I do, basically. Sometimes I pin things. Sometimes you gotta pin things. Like when you're doing quills or, you know, you can't do the squares in the middle with clips. So you have to have pins and things like that. But if it's an end of something, it always gets a clip. Or my wonderful seam tape. I don't know where that went right now. My wonderful seam tape that I always use when I'm doing bags and zippers and that kind of stuff. And this part you don't have to totally be, because it's going to get all trimmed off even anyways. But I still like to try to be as even as I can. Just works better that way, it seems like, to me anyways. All right, let's get over here to the machine and we'll do some corners. Let's see if I can get us in right. I don't have a cameraman yet, so I'm just me right now. There we go. That should be good enough for you to see what I'm doing anyways. All right, and we will sew corners. I'll try to be careful so that the clips don't fall off. Let me get these ones I forgot I had out of the way. All right, let me find the line for this one. These ones will go, I think, a little shorter. Just a bit, just so that they still line up. Okay. Yeah, we'll give our corners a little bit. Once we trim them, they're going to line up anyways. So let me get all these out of our way. Next corner. We got to just go over and put it on. Let me see where the end is. There we go, it should be about enough. Let me make sure that our corner is on. Alright, let's look at this. Here we have two really nice corners, and let's do the other two corners, and then we'll take them to our table and do trimming after we iron, and they will be just really nice. Over a little bit more. All right. Up the corner. We have such a really beautiful snow blizzard outside. It's an awesome evening. It really, really is. If our other corners are on. Awesome. Let me go run to the ironing board and I will be back in a moment. Quick pressing. To our table, and we will trim all our corners off. My fan is blowing on the furnace right now, so I'm just has to blow around. All right, let's get our move this out of the way for a minute. Cutter. My favorite ever ruler is this little one. It's great for all kinds of things. Got a couple of these. What we're going to do is we're going to go right across. Oh, I better move this table a little bit more. We're going to go right across and just trim the whole thing off. This side crossed. Whatever needs to be later. Alright, let's turn it around. And we'll do this side. And then we'll go around the other edges and do that side. It's pretty even. Pretty that's looking. Alright, let's turn this one. We'll put this one over here. Go right to this edge here. And get it all a nice trim. This one. Maybe I can do this one upside down. I don't know. Nope, not upside down. Because I don't want to cut into this part. Some things you can do upside down and some things you're best off not to. Some of this will get hidden once I put the backing on it. Do that. Because it's all just a hair. Not perfect. But I am not perfect. And I don't ever plan on being perfect. All right, one more side. And we do want everything to lay flat so that it trims nice too. All right, let's trim just a little right there. Let's close that. All right, And this is what we have. This is the whole top of our table runner. Let me try to hold this up. Looks great. Very nice piece. Now we want to get our other parts over here. This is our really fun backing. It's the same as our corners. And it's a really nice backing piece. So let's lay this out. Let me slide that over a minute. And we also have our awesome batting piece. It doesn't have to be the best batting or the thickest or anything like that. Just a nice piece of batting. And it doesn't even have to be the whole length of the piece because you're going to be folding it over and sewing it anyways. All right, let me grab my bigger pair of scissors and I'm going to just do a little trim off right here. Here we go, and that never has to be, your inside piece never has to be perfect. No, because it's never going to show anyways. Alright, let's just kind of do this. And our bottom piece is going to be a little bit off too, but that's okay. Now, what we want to do is put this piece on top. And this is where you want to be a little more precise. And we'll try to get it in the middle as best as we can. But once you fold over these ends, it'll be just fine. Alright, let me, and some of our backing isn't perfectly lined up, not by any means. Okay, this side and this side, this looks pretty decent. And here's where we can do a fun thing and stitch these on, and that will hold it in place while we do our edgings. Let's turn this and make sure everything looks a little bit, you know, kind of lined up. We've got rulers. That's about 3. Not quite. That's over 3. This is over 3, and this is over 3. So this side are good. So this side, let's see, needs to move. That's 3, and that's over 3. So let's move it upward. Just a bit. Alright, we will take a quick measurement. That's a little over 3. And that's a little over 3. So we are good to go. Now we can pin this down too if we like. Got some awesome, use a couple of these bigger ones maybe. Just to kind of, I keep all kinds of pins everywhere, and let's put this one right about in here. Right, let me fix this again. All right. Sometimes pinning is not what I really like to do. No. Just to kind of hold it. Just till we get these lines down. And then we won't sew these ones, just this, and this. All right, let me put you back over at the machine. There we go, that's a little better. All right, let me come over here. And we can do the first line and then remove the pin. And what I'm going to do is go right along my seam line. Gives it a nice even look, and it keeps everything lined up nicely, and it makes it look nice. Let me try to move this along too. Sometimes you can use like the zipper foot for this, but I kind of like this foot. It's not going to be perfect, I can see that already, but it will look nice. I got stuff all over in my room. I clean it, and then it just gets all over again. That's it. Our thread is starting to pull out a little bit. Let me grab some of that. Let me take this out. There we go, just to get a little more thread going here. All right, that's one line done. It isn't perfect, and I did sew over this. Let me take a pin out, and we're gonna really quickly just try to oh, my needle came unthreaded. All right, let me rethread my needle. I'm really quick at the needle threading thing. And brothers are wonderful. They thread the first time every time. Alright, let me grab. Oh, it didn't thread. It usually... There we go, I had it wrong. There we go, we're threaded, we're back on. Let me grab this little bit of line right here and just there we go. threader wants to keep acting up. I don't know what the deal is going on with this. Oh, that needs to be raised. All right, let's see. All right, we can just fold this one over. These old machines really need some fixing. I don't know what's going on with this at the moment. All right, let's just give this a try. All right. We'll just kind of keep that folded over a little bit. Yep, the needle has come out. It's getting caught up in here someplace. Yep, it's definitely getting caught up. All right, let's try this, and we'll leave a longer piece in the back. There we go. Okay, let's try this. All right. All right, now we're back on track. Sorry about that, folks. My machines just aren't with me today. Probably should be using my walking foot on this. Yep, I probably should be using the walking foot. Or a walking foot. I don't think I have one for this machine. Let me pull my string back. All right, we'll get that in a minute. There we have our second line sewed. You can see that on the back side. Let's clip this. Some of it's okay if it stays in because it's going to be hidden anyways. I hate machines and needles and troubles. All right, we have that fixed for now. All right, let's, I think we're going to turn this around and we will do this other side. Let me pull the needle out of here now because we don't really need that. Let's see. Now let's do this side one more time. Yep, because they're all facing the same way. So let's fold this over. Here's some more little stringers to cut off. We will have lines in the back of this thing. I didn't think about the color wise. But this side's going to be on the table anyways. So it will be fine and dandy. I'm just making these to go around the house, and somebody else wants one, well, maybe I'll donate one. All right, let's pull this up a little bit. Sometimes you gotta pull it along too. Let's take this, yeah, we'll leave that pin for a minute. Kind of like trying to grip it right and give it a helping hand. Trim that. All right, now we can pull this other last pin out. And let's see. We fold this over again a little bit. Just like that. All right, now we can sew the last piece down. Then again, I'm not out for perfection. I'm just out to sew something for the holidays. All right, let's take that out. And there we have that, all nicely sewed down. Looks pretty neat. Now let's go to our table and we will get our edgings done. All right, let's spread this thing out and take a fast look. Looks really, really nice. I think it looks great. All right, what we want to do now is we can fold this piece over first. And then we'll do this side, and then we'll do our sides. So let's see. First we gotta fold it in like that. Should probably press it as I go along. Let me see. this. Sometimes you can try different ways to do it. See which way you like it best. Just kind of finger pressing it. Let me flip it one more time. It's going to take a lot of my square from that, but that might be okay too. Let's see. May end up having to do a trim. Let's try our sides. Yep, our sides are really long. And my fan is blowing again. Let me see how I want to do this. That's going to hide most of our corn, and we don't want to do that. So, we're just going to give this thing a tiny bit of a trim. Let me get my bigger ruler out. Got my awesome bigger ruler. Yep, and it looks like we can make just a nice little trim. Let me see, maybe an inch. Maybe about an inch. Up on the mark line here. And then you can do about an inch trim. It's not even perfect. But like I said, I'm not about perfect. So if we do about an inch trim, that looks fantastic. Let's turn this around and we'll do this side. And line this up this way. It won't be quite an inch in spots, but for the most part it will be about an inch. Pile of lovely scraps. Alright, let's turn it. This way is not going to work without my big one. Let me see. Oh yeah, that's definitely way better. Alright, let me get my big industrial. Here's my big industrial, and let's use this as a better measurement guide. So this is 2 inches, so half of this is what we need. Just kind of even it out. Take an inch. Here's about an inch. My hubby gave me this nice thing. It was one of his tools he had when he was working. And now it's my tool, and I love it. Alright, there's an inch. About. Let's turn it around, and we'll get an inch from the other side. And we don't need to worry about the batting too much, because that doesn't really need to be that far out anyway. So I may trim some of that off too. It looks like this side is shorter. Let's see. This side's not quite an inch. Go. Put our nice lovely scraps, as I call them, aside. Alright, and there we have that. Now let's grab a pair of scissors real quick. We can trim some of this too. This is what doesn't need to really be so perfection. So perfect, I should say. And we can save all the scraps we have. Kind of gonna hold this down every now and again because it wants to go wherever it wants to go. Like doing the long ways. But I'm not out to be perfect today. All right. Last side. Just kind of hold it down as I go along. The furnace is blowing everything. And it doesn't need to be great. It just needs to be nice. All right. There we go. Let's throw all this junk aside. I'll clean it later. All right, let's do this. Doesn't that look really, really nice? I think it's looking great. And let's see if we can fold this over now. Maybe I should give this a pressing on the ironing board. But let's do this. Let's turn these. And we will do this. Let me get some bigger clips out now. These are little ones if we have to. But let's get the bigger ones going. Let me get all my big ones out. I'm going to need more big ones probably. All right, let's slide this along. That's going to cover that little red line, but that's okay. There's still some green, and that's really awesome too. Let me get that in there right to the thing. Beautiful. All right, let's try this. It has to be, this is the one part you want to be, you don't want it to look off. Okay. I have one big clip left. Let me grab some of these clips. I got the square bin and it's full of clips because I love to have extras. All right, let me see. All right, let's kind of turn that a little bit. Use my rulers. Turn this around. Might end up giving this a, I have to look at that for a minute and see what's going on there. All right, let's fold this side. All right, let's put a clip here. And let's put a clip here. I'm going to put one here just because it's wants to kind of do the upward thing. All right, let's do this. Let me see if my backside's coming out right. Kind of give it a little stretching there. And the backside doesn't have to be real perfect. No, because it's just a backing on there so that it looks nice on your table. That one there. Let me see what's going on here. It'll get a nice pressing too. You always want to press everything out when you're done. Let me grab some of these down here. My awesome Wonder Clips. Love, love, love my Wonder Clips. see. All right, we got our ends, our sides done. And like I said, it doesn't need to be perfect. It just needs to be on. I'm going to slide this one down a little bit so I can do my fold overs on this. Fold it like that. Oh, isn't that so perfect? I wish I had a little more on the ends there. That'd be great. But this is going to be okay too. And I won't have to cut and trim nothing. There's that one. This one. It's still going to be very nice. I say it's going to be very nice when I get it done. All right, let's turn it around. And we will clip this side. And they put some in the way. Let's fold this piece over. Make some room for this. All right, let's fold this piece over. And we will do this. Okay, press it down a hair. Let's get these clips going. Still going to be very nice for my table. Or, you know, whatever I decide I want to do with this thing. And you really don't need to iron it at this point because you're just going to sew it down. All right, let's see, where can I use this other one at? I got to fix a spot right here. So I'm going to clip this right here. Let me turn this around. This area needs to be worked on just a little bit and adjusted and stretched just a bit. Okay, looks like we're about good to go to the machine. And we will sew around okay. And it's not perfect. Ugh. All right, let's go to the machine. A little bit closer. All right. All right, get in here. And let's see where we're going to start. Probably the inside, I would say. And then we can do the outside last. Let's move that out of our way. Let's get everything out of our way. like this. Let's kind of fold this part over so that it doesn't get messed up. All right, let me move my little scissors. Back stitch. Kind of move that clip upward a hair, but leave it on there. Let's move this clip up a little bit too. Let's go down as we go along. Move this clip. Let's pull one off, yay. Put this one on the end. All right, let's turn our piece. We can remove that clip now. Let's turn our piece. What I want to do is try to keep it kind of folded over a little bit as we go down. Well, let's do this. Let's grab a clip here. Just kind of put it in there. And then we'll slide this one down as we go along. Let's get these out of our way. Let's get that one. We'll slide this one down, slide this one down a little bit. Let's get this little piece of trimming off. All right, let's slide that one down. Let's go. Let's remove that one. Let me see what it's looking like back here. It's hard to see. All right, let's move that. All right, we're looking pretty good, I think. And if it ain't, it's not perfect, and it's not going to be, and I don't want to. I just want some fun stuff for Christmas, holidays, and stuff like that. I'm going to put that right on the corner itself. All right, let's take that one off. Let's turn this one. Oh, we have to go one more stitch. Let's pull that back a hair. We'll go 2 stitches just to be safe. There we go. It's perfect. Perfect, perfect. Let's move this down and back a little bit. I'm not out for perfect. I'm just out for fun. Let's grab some of these out of our way. Let's grab this one too. Let's grab this one. Slide that one down to the end. We must keep it on for now. Let's see. That's great. Perfect. All right, let's do. There we go. We did a little very slight slide over. Let's get this side. Oh, my scraps are everywhere. Let's put this one in here for right now. Slide that one down. All right, let's take this one and we're going to slide it here. Slide that one off. So this side, that side's done. Let's see. Let's take these 2 off because now we've gone that side. I'm going to quickly do a trim on that little piece of thread because it will bother me. Another clip off. You put this one here just for my benefit. Clip off too. Slide this one down, but we won't take it off yet. Let's slide this here and just keep it on for the moment. Alright, now we can remove the clips, the rest of. Let me Go real slow right here. One stitch. There we go. Let's turn. And we will do stitch it this way, or 2 or 3, and then back stitch. Alright, let's take that off. Looks wonderful. I'm wondering if I should go around the outer edge. They're not perfect, but they don't have to be. But I may fix the corners and do a little tuck in. But this is really looking quite nice. It's upside down, folks. Sorry about that. And let's see. Yep, let's do a little fixing on our corners. And I'm just gonna tuck the corners in more or less so that they all look even. And then we will just do a quickie on the outer edge. So let's do this one first. And we will just stay at the machine. Off. Oops. Somehow it has slid off. Let's fix that. That'll take just a second. Alright, let's slide this back on. And we'll go over just a little bit more this time. I can fix that end. Yep, we're going to go right with it in the middle. And that will be perfect. Let's see if I can pull this up a little bit. Pull this clip off and make sure that's tucked good right there. If it's not perfect, it's not perfect. Because I am over the perfect thing. Stitch one. Alright, let's see. Let's go ahead. One. Alright, and one was perfect. Let's get all this doodads out of our way. this line. Make sure that's in good. And let's turn. And this one's going to be great. And like I said, I'm not out to be perfect by any means. Grab a couple of my threads on this other end real quick. All right. Just a little bit more. One stitch. Let's turn our work. And that's awesome. Our last and final side. Bobbin thread's getting low. But it shall be enough to finish this project. Anyways. Back stitch. All right, let's do a quick trim of this. Let's do a trim of this one. Check for any other quick threads back here. Looks great. Let's spread this thing out. And again, I'm not out to be perfect. I'm just out to make something really pretty and fun for the holidays. I'm going to put my clips out of the way. Now you can iron this thing out if you'd like. You don't have to. I sometimes give my stuff a pressing after I do it. Let's spread her out here and take a peek. Yep, it's not perfectly great, but it's not bad. I think it's really, really awesome. Nice, awesome centerpiece for your table. Just a plain backside, which is not bad. But the front side is what matters. And there you have it, folks. This is another video. Hope you enjoyed this one. Please like and subscribe to my channel. Thank you. And that's my video. See you on the next one. Bye.